everybody, it's your boy Crawford, and today we are going to learn about prime and composite numbers. Today we're going to learn about prime and composite numbers. When I think of prime and composite numbers, multiplication comes to my mind, and that is because prime and composite numbers deal with the operation of multiplication. Prime and composite numbers deal with the operation of multiplication. So let's jump right into the lesson. Okay, so first off, we are going to learn what a prime number is. So let's discover that. It says a prime number can only be a product when the factors are 1 in itself. A prime number can only be a product when the factors are 1 in itself. Within this definition, we have two key terms. We have the word product and we have the word factors. Okay, guys? Product is simply an answer to a multiplication problem, and the word factor means that the numbers that we are multiplying together. So in the example of 2 times 5 equals 10, the number 10 will be the product because it is the answer to that multiplication problem, and the numbers 2 and 5 will be our factors because those are the numbers that we are multiplying together. All right, it says can only be a product when the factors are 1 in itself. You're like, Crawford, that is still confusing. It's okay, I'll simplify it for you. It's basically saying a prime number can only be the answer to a multiplication problem when the numbers that you are multiplying together are 1 in that exact same number. Okay, let's jump into these examples. For our first example, we have the number 3. I need you to do something for me. I need you to think of 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get the answer of 3. Go ahead, take a second. Now, if you thought like I thought, you probably thought of this right here. You probably thought of 3 times 1 or 1 times 3. Let's take a deeper look at this. Can only be a product when the factors are 1 in itself. That means 3 can only be the answer to a multiplication problem when the 2 numbers that you are multiplying together are 1 and that exact same number. So that makes 3 a prime number. Okay? You're still not convinced yet? Let's go to the next example. Let's look at 7. Think of 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get 7. Go ahead, take your time. I'll wait. So while you're thinking that, you probably thought of this. You probably thought, oh my gosh, the only 2 numbers that I can use to get the answer of 7 is 7 times 1. So 7 is a prime number because the only 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get 7 as the answer was 1 and itself, 7. Okay, that makes 7 a prime number. So here go a few more examples of prime numbers. Okay, we have 5. 5 is a prime number because the only 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get the answer of 5 will be 1 times 5. 11 is a prime number because the only 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get 11 is 1 times 11. 1 in that same number. 17 is a prime number because the only 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get 17 is 1 times 17. 29 is a prime number because the only 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get 29 is 1 times 29. 31 is a prime number because the only 2 numbers that we can multiply together to get 31 will be 1 times 31. Okay, that wraps it up for the prime numbers. There are many more prime numbers, and these were just a few examples. Okay, so let's move on. Now we're moving on to composite number. First, I'm going to think about that word composite. And in that word composite is the root word compose. The root word compose. Compose means what is something made of? What makes it and holds it together? Compose. This is composed of what? Okay? So let's look at composite number and the definition. Composite number. A product when there are more factors than just 1 in itself. A product when there are more factors than just 1 in itself. Well, let's take a look at the first example. Our first example here is the number 4. I would like you to think of 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get 4. Go ahead, take a second. So while you're thinking that, you probably thought of this right here. You probably thought of 2 times 2 or 1 times 4. As you can see here, not only can you multiply 1 and the number of 4 to get 4, you can also multiply 2 times 2 to get 4. Well, that means that 4 is composed of 2 and 2 because 2 times 2 gets us 4. So that makes 4 a composite number. So let's look at our next example. Our next example is 12. Think of 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get 12. Go ahead, think about it. Okay, so when you thought about it, you probably thought of this right here. Either 6 times 2 or 4 times 3. What this is telling me is that 12 is composed of 6 and 2 because 6 times 2 is 12. And 12 is also composed of 4 and 3 because 4 times 3 gets us 12. So that makes 12 a composite number. All right, guys, here is a few more examples of composite numbers. We have 8. 8 is a composite number because it is composed of 4 and 2 because 2 times 4 is 8. 21 is a composite number because it is composed of 7 and 3 because 7 times 3 is 21. 45 is a composite number because it is composed of 9 and 5 because 9 times 5 is 45. 27 is a composite number because it is composed of 9 and 3 because 9 times 3 gets us 27. 16 is a composite number because it is composed of 8 and 2 because 8 times 2 is 16. Also, 16 is composed of 4 and 4 because 4 times 4 is 16. So before we leave, let's sum it back up. A prime number can only be a product when the factors are 1 in itself. And here go the examples. And a composite number, a product when there are more factors than just 1 in itself. And here are the examples. All right, it's your boy Coffee signing out. Hello!